Serious. Let's go to your phone calls right now in this segment and the next. In the final segment, we have a special report filed, Lifestyles of the Drunk and Brainless, dealing with the general public not knowing about the Bill of Rights or Constitution, shot right here in Austin, Texas by the ever intelligent and informative Leanne McAdoo and John Bowne. And TV viewers will be tortured by having a look at Leanne McAdoo if you watch us on PrisonPlanet.tv, and John Bowne as well. Very handsome as well. So that is all coming up in the final segment with a bunch of news on the NSA, on the Oscars, on fake news, glamorizing not just Obama, but Rahm Emanuel now with Jimmy Fallon, and all the fake news. Media admitting, even mainstream media admitting it's all fake. But let's go to your phone calls. We got Bubba, Paul, Jeremy, John, Pam, James, you name it. Got a lot of callers calling about other stuff. We're talking about the Ukraine that could be the trigger for World War III. What is your view? Former, current military, police, folks in Europe. I can usually give the number out in Australia or in Egypt and get some calls on an issue. I don't see anybody from Ukraine. I got Canada, Illinois, which is kind of like the Soviet Union. I guess from kind of like 1982 from the Soviet Union. Illinois is a great state, but it's kind of run by the Soviet Union. From another dimension, we got Virginia, Texas, Arkansas, Texas. Again, we got an international line, folks, or you can call the regular number, 877-789-2539. I want to hear from Ukraine or Russia, you name it. Anybody over there in Eastern Europe or into the Caucasus or into the whole Rus area, 877-789-ALEX. Right now, let's go to Bubba in Virginia. He served 10 years in Germany. Then we got active military. Paul in Texas wants to comment on Ukraine. What's your take on this, Bubba?
Yeah, like I said, I was over in Germany for quite some time, starting back around 2000s, 2001s. They actually started having different meetings for how we're going to put bases over in different parts of what used to be former Eastern Europe, or former Eastern Soviet Union there.
Which is provocative.
Like, exactly. So we're putting places. We got ASGs actually looking at putting area support groups equivalent to over in Poland. I know some guys have gone over there and looked at some stuff. Kosovo, Yugoslavia, places like that. So, yeah, we're basically, we're fringing right on their borders.
Encircling Russia. Yes, that's the public plan, exactly, is to bring Russia down by the White House, yes.
Exactly. And then the whole thing going on with Ukraine, just from things I've seen and read in history books and everything, to me, this seems somewhat similar to when Kermit Roosevelt was over in Iran. They got provocateurs in there. They go in there with a bunch of money, but basically you use Bechtel and other corporations like that, and George Soros corporations. They go in there and they pay a bunch of hooligans to start riots and carry on. And they don't want to join the EU, I can guarantee you that. Because I can tell you, when I went to places like Czechoslovakia and stuff, they would rather take my dollars or they take krone over euros. They do not want euros. They don't want anything to do with the euros because it's bad news. It's going to crash. And it's going to bring down their economy. So those people in the Ukraine that are wanting to go with the EU and become part of the EU, I'm telling you, they better look out because they're tying their own hands loose.
Well, very sophisticated points you make that the majority of Ukrainians, they voted it down in elections, do not want to join the EU and be saddled with debt and enslaved. I mean, that's like wanting to join with leukemia or wanting to join with syphilis. I mean, it's not a good deal. And so they just activate a bunch of thugs to blow stuff up. The government stands down. They take over. That gives the Russians a vacuum to come in. The word is they stood down to the Western powers, by some of our sources. The government did, who's pro-Russia, so Russia would have an excuse to come in. And that may actually be the double, triple cross in all this, and that's why it's such a mess. The problem is, historically, the Russians will not back down. And so people like nuclear war, get ready for it. I appreciate your call. It's not like we're led by like Eisenhower or something or Ronald Reagan, folks. It's Barack Obama, who's busy raising old ladies' insurance prices. I mean, it's just a sickening situation. Paul in Texas, active duty military. What is your take on all this, Paul?
Hey, Alex, a lot of things going on. Basically, a couple of points and just something to think about. Last week, our president said that he was going to shrink the military to the smallest size that it's been since World War II. Next thing you know, Russia has decided that they would make an end run down through to the Crimea, to their deep water port at Sebastopol. That's where they keep all their carrier operations are out of that base.
They don't have a choice. I mean, isn't it like when the commies took over Cuba, the U.S. seized Guantanamo because their ships were there?
Oh, absolutely. The interesting part of this is that entire corridor that they came down through to Sebastopol, all those folks speak Russian. They're pro-Russian anyway, so it's not even a big deal to those guys. The Ukrainians are on the western part of the country where they actually speak Ukrainian. And that's where all the...
Sure. And AP and Reuters is saying Russia invaded Ukraine. No, they didn't. They secured their military bases. And I'm not saying I'm not judging that. It's just a fact. They secured the Russian-held area and their military bases.
On the economic side, most of the natural gas that Europe uses runs through the pipelines that run through the Crimea.
That's right.
And the next place they need to be very careful of is Moldova, because the remainder of the pipelines run through there.
Very well said. Where do you think this is all going?
Well, I think Putin takes a lot of pleasure in punking our president, and he's doing a real good job at that.
Well, they just keep thinking everybody's going to bend over, and the Russians aren't going to do it. Good point. Folks, you hear I want to talk to active duty military. They know the ports. They know the names. They've done all the research. I've done it too, but it's just good to hear it. The average American doesn't know the Earth orbits the sun, folks. The average American will ban water in a poll if they say it's for Obama. The average American will vote to have their power plant shut down and have their prices doubled. The average American would vote to have their head chopped off if it was trendy. But I talk to the military, they always know what's going on. Oh, I love it. Ugh. I didn't used to just gush about the military, but they always say, oh, military intelligence, what an oxymoron. I've learned more from military, regular enlisted people and non-commissioned officers and officers than I would ever learn from the establishment professors. And I'm not talking about all professors, like if they're in law or in electrical engineering or something. The general, though, political professors are a bunch of joke hacks that don't know what planet they're living on. And me personally, I'm living in the 21st century in a real risk game. It's incredibly exciting. I'm not into football because I'm learning all the real players in the world and finance and banking and regions and what's happening in Nigeria and the Muslims in the north and what's happening in Transylvania and Romania and Bulgaria and what's going on in southern Mexico and what's happening in Japan right now. That adult diapers outsell baby diapers, not because the population is aging, which it is, but because it's so much fun and trendy to poop on yourself in Japan. I mean, that's mainstream news. I'm not even into stuff like that. It's just so amazing. That's another factoid. What else will I learn? Well, we'll learn more together coming up with your phone calls.
He aligns himself with the truth, and it's time for you to choose a side.
And his name is Obama.
You're listening to Alex Jones.
My love is in league with the freeway. My love is in league with a 50 cal. I'll shoot an old truck at a mile away with a tracer. I'll watch the fuel tanks explode into the night. Then I'll fire 9 more rounds explosively. They'll all impact, exploding in the night. Why did I deserve to be born in Texas? It just gets better and better. There you go. I'm just making stuff up. That really happened, but making it up as I go on top of the wonderful voice of the golden god, as he's known, Robert Plant, bringing us in, broadcasting worldwide. What's that Doors song, the Texas Beat? The Texas backbeat. It starts out with Jim Morrison going, yeah, it's a Texas sound. We need to find that. Just like Jim Morrison, the Texas sound, or Texas radio, Texas ranch radio. What is the name of that song? We need to come in at the next segment with that. I haven't played that in like 15 years on radio. Listen, we got a bunch of other news to cover in the next segment. I'm taking your phone calls. It is called The Wasp, but it's got another name. It's like Texas radio, I think. John in Canada, John in Michigan, James in Arkansas, Brad in Nebraska, Jeremy in Illinois. We're talking to former, current military, folks over in Ukraine, you name it, about what they think about the situation. I know it's not as important about a bunch of Botox, egomaniac people in their Hollywood that's going bankrupt, L.A. that's collapsing, in the mayor's own words, situation. And not that I don't like some of the movies, but give me a break. I'll choose what I like. I'm going to sit there and watch them all in their big narcissistic event. Let's go ahead and talk to John in Canada, recently retired military. What is your take on all this, John? Well, that's interesting, John. What else do you think, John? John is the equivalent on talk radio of disappearing ink. He's not there. Let's let him go. Let's go to James in Arkansas. Next caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex.
Hey, you say you're a military veteran, spent a lot of time in Ukraine. What's your take on this?
Thanks for not being a sellout and telling the truth about what's going on over there.
I'm trying my best. I've studied it, but I still don't want to be overconfident because it's complex. What is your take?
Yeah, I spent pretty much 05, 06, 07 over there in Kyiv, Odessa, Nikolaev, Sevastopol, Zaporozhye, Kharkov. Most of Ukrainians, I don't believe they want to join the EU.
Well, they voted against it openly, yes.
Yeah,
So George Soros is showing them now.
That's right. They're used to more freedoms and liberties than what we usually have here. They're not going to like joining up with the EU. I think there are most of them are on the side of Russia there, I would have to say. Now, in the western part near Poland, there are, Nazi sympathizers. Oh, don't speak Russian, speak Ukrainian. And Hitler was a good guy. Too bad he didn't win.
Oh, no. The deputy prime minister is literally photos of him heiling Hitler with images of women with blonde hair shooting electricity out of their hands. I mean, wow, I've never seen fascist iconography like that. I mean, they're really taking the cake now.
Yeah, I hear you.
But I guess George Soros is coming home. I mean, he was a top Nazi sympathizer in his area. Romania?
Yeah, I sure hope they don't. The EU don't mess around, or the West too much over there anymore. I would like to move.
Well,
over there.
Napoleon and Hitler messed around with Russia, and you know how that ended up.
Yeah. My wife, she's from Peru, and she can't wait to go visit over there with me.
Well, I hear and I see the women and the culture of Ukraine are very, very nice-looking ladies. And I hear they're very feminine, and, of course, that's politically incorrect. But don't worry, the EU will put stuff in their water to make the women look like men and the men look like women. So they'll get the Ukrainians. They'll get the 5-year-olds wearing dresses and saluting Obama when they're done.
Yeah, I hope not. Very healthy over there. I can meet up with other Americans and believe how old they are, 45 or 60, and they look like they're 25 or
I have
30.
talked to businessmen that go anywhere in Eastern Europe where they're off the GMO and stuff. They go, man, I smoked cigarettes, drank, ate like a pig, lost 40 pounds. Like the French are just eating like pigs, smoking, having sex 8 times a day, live longer, less cancer because there's no GMO, folks. I mean, they live like pigs, and they live longer than us. When my dad was growing up, it was chicken fried steaks, total stuff constantly, and there was no issues with weight. I'm telling you, GMO and rats makes them big and fat. I appreciate your call. God bless you. What an evil American. He loves freedom. Jeremy in Illinois, you're on the air. Go ahead. What's your take on the situation in Ukraine?
Yeah, hello, this is Jeremy.
Yeah, we know. We announced you're Jeremy. Go ahead. Are you former military?
No, I'm not.
I don't mean to be rude to you. Have you been to Ukraine?
No, I've never been to Ukraine.
But see, I don't screen the calls. I said former military that's been over there, or active duty, or people in Ukraine or Russia. We want that intel. You got 30 seconds. Make your point.
Yeah, there's a global banker that's in charge of Ukraine now.
That's right. They put an IMF banker in there. That's right. Good point.
Yeah. And now the Russia has sent a military vessel down to Cuba, and I wonder if they're listening into tapping into America. I wonder.
Oh, I think they're paying attention, yes, and they've got their own issues. I'm not again saying they're a bunch of angels. It's just that it's all. And I'm trying to be mean to you, Jeremy. It's just we're talking to. Look, I haven't gotten one, and usually I can do this. This is very upsetting. If I kept this for a few days, the lines would be loaded with it. I want calls from Ukraine. I know most of the phones aren't working there. I've been told in some areas. Or Russia, or Poland, or Germany. What is your take in Europe on this? We'll open the phones completely up. Okay? 877-789-ALEX. Dial your country code and use that. Or the international line. Your country code, access code, 512-646-1776. 512-646-1776. I want your take over there on this. John in Michigan, former military with Ukraine experience. Go